Welcome to Goofy Getaways with your hosts, Amy Blades and Amy Fisher.
Welcome to the Goofy Getaways podcast. We're so excited to have you here. I'm Amy Blades, CEO and founder of Goofy Getaways, with, of course, my counterpart, who I will let introduce herself, and a special guest, who I will also let introduce himself. So, tossing over to you.
All right. So I'm the other Amy. I'm Amy Fisher, and I am our Vice President of Communication and Development here at Goofy Getaways. We are so excited for this podcast episode. I might actually be more excited than Amy and our special guest because selfishly, I am so looking forward to hearing all of the details about our podcast episode, but we are going to let our special guest introduce themselves and introduce the topic for you all today.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Noddea Skidmore. I am the Director of Marketing for Goofy Getaways and also a travel consultant. I'm delighted to be here for today's episode because we are talking about the thing that I am entirely willing to make my new personality, and that is Virgin Voyages. Amy Blades and I just sailed on the Scarlet Lady, and we cannot wait to tell you all about it. So today's episode is all about the Virgin Voyages difference.
I'm so excited. I have to tell you, okay, first I have to say I do have a cute little shirt too, but Noddea's shirt's my favorite and I wanted it and they didn't have it, but I'm going to just live through her for a moment to tell you guys about this experience. I actually said to Noddea when we were sailing, I said, we are going to have to do 2 podcasts on this because there is just way too much to cover. Like there's so much that we can't stop talking about. And that's how we came to getting it to 2 podcasts. So I will kind of toss it to you, Noddea, if you want to. I've got to give Noddea the props here. It was Noddea who said to me, hey, we've done training on Virgin Voyages. I really like our business development manager as an agency. We've been booking a lot more Virgin, and I'm a big Disney cruise line. Everyone knows that sailor. I love it. It's my favorite cruise line. And I was very apprehensive to go do this cruise, not just because it was something new, but I'm like, okay, no, like honestly, we're gonna go. And Noddea really, she did. She really kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. And my husband and I, he ended up going with me, and I'm really delighted to be able to share with everyone like what our experience was. And I will say that there are definitely like trips that like Amy and I have done, and you'll hear me say, you know what, there's nobody that I would have rather been able to do that trip with, and I have to say, like, this sailing, it was meant for Noddea and I to do together. 100%. As obviously for business, but as a friendship too. Like we really went all in, and I've got to give her like serious credit on that, because if it wasn't for her and her excitement and getting me excited, like, hey, I saw, okay, you guys always hear me joke about, I got to check with my stylist because Noddea does pick things out and send them to me all the time. But if it wasn't for her, like sending things like, hey, we've got Scarlet Night, we've got all these things that we're going to talk about in the podcast. But it made me get excited and also a little bit nervous. But now doing the sailing, I wouldn't have done it any other way. I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anyone else. So everyone's gonna have to hold me back from getting to all of these things that we're supposed to actually talk about in the second
episode 2.
So I'm really gonna try to.
We love the excitement.
I can't wait to tell. It's contagious. I hope that you can feel the excitement that we had. I am excited to, for the next little bit here to talk about what our experience was, but I'll send it over to you because this was all Noddea, and it was Noddea saying we need to do this, and I'm so glad she did, because it's definitely opened my portfolio, and I am going to open my my booking to try to get some Virgin Voyages booked for people that I know are going to absolutely love it. And I'm excited to talk about what my apprehension was, maybe just from other people's thoughts maybe, and then being able to actually experience it and tell you, because you know that I will tell you the truth even if we don't agree. I'm going to tell you the truth, and I think it was phenomenal, and I'm super excited to talk about the stuff that I really really loved, and some things that I think could have been better, but overall, yeah. So you better start talking, and I'm going to try to
All
be
right.
quiet for a
So
minute.
first we're gonna dive in and first talk about what is Virgin Voyages, right? Because this is actually one of the newest cruise lines. So the ship that we were actually on, the Scarlet Lady, was the very first ship in the fleet. And when you say it's one of the very first ships, like the first thought is like, oh, so it's an older ship?
Yeah.
No, this first
Mm,
set sail in 2021 as the very first ship for this cruise line. Um, and Virgin Voyages is under the same umbrella as Virgin Records, Virgin Atlantic,
yeah.
air travel. So it's definitely based in a luxury brand and one that is more forward thinking and more contemporary in a lot of ways. But the
Yeah.
very first thing that is important to know about how Virgin Voyages was designed with the Virgin difference is that it's adults only.
Yes, it
It is an
is.
adult, yes,
And
like it's
you
an
get
adults
that
only
sense.
cruise line.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things now, just because it's adults only, doesn't mean that it's all naughty or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Like I
And
think when people
that's
are
what I
like,
want to
well,
talk
it's just
about when we
adults.
have a couple minutes, or when it's my turn.
Absolutely.
That's what
Yes,
I
yes,
want to
yes, for
talk
sure.
about.
But it's just a really wonderful, sophisticated, relaxed, fun vacation experience that caters to folks 18 and older who just
Mhm.
appreciate a unique, edgy, and inclusive atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And Virgin, I would say, like it was designed for travelers who are young adults as well as
Hmm.
adults who are young at heart,
100%.
because we saw groups of older college students and older
Yeah.
grad students that were on their spring breaks.
Hmm.
We saw multi-generational adult families, folks who were traveling with their parents or with their grandparents, and that was really cool. And then
Hmm.
we saw lots of groups of friends as well. And something that was extra fun was we saw so many teachers and made friends with
Yes,
so many
we
people in
did.
education
Teachers were
on Virgin
huge.
Voyages, which was really cool. In fact, we'll talk about this in episode 2, but Amy and I made a great group of friends, and coincidentally, the majority of them, like they didn't know each other before sailing, and like they all connected and found one another, um, because they all worked in some level of education, whether it be um, higher ed student activities, administrators, or in the classroom. And I just thought that that was it was very cool. But we saw, yeah, so we saw folks of all ages, and overall, I would just say like Virgin curates this experience in a way that's so different from any other cruise that I've experienced. I have been, yeah, and I have only been on like a small fraction of the sailings that Amy Blades has been on. Um, but with the various experiences I've had, this one was enough to really,
Yeah.
truly from day one to be like, oh, I found my thing. This
Oh,
is this
yeah.
is my cruise line. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, like Amy
100%.
said in the beginning, she's like, I love Disney Cruise Line. Like Disney,
Hmm.
yes, 100%, obviously. However, there is just something
This
about
is
this that
different.
it felt very authentic, in all the right
Yes.
ways for me.
Yes.
Um, Despite the fact that it's so new and it's so
Hmm.
interesting and that they're doing these new things, it never felt performative to me for the
No.
sake of it being performative.
No.
It never felt like it was trying too hard. They
No.
somehow managed to just land in this sweet spot that combined luxury and joy, and I think in a very good way. And Amy, I think you would probably agree too, like
Oh,
pushing people out of their comfort zones to try new.
yes. Yes.
And that was so
Yes.
cool. That was so, so
And
cool.
and
Um,
that's what's so hard, because we can't talk about, we can
I
talk about
know,
it,
I
but I
know,
mean,
I
I'm just
know.
trying to, because I can't
Stick
wait
to
to
the
talk
script,
about
Amy.
those
Stick to
things.
the
I
script.
know, but I'm not good at that, and I'm trying. I can't
But I
wait.
mean, I'm just gonna say is like clearly we have people that are already ready for the second episode, right? Because we're like, yeah, we can't wait to
Oh
tell
my
you about this
gosh.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's what you need to know. So we talked about how this Virgin Voyages is still very new, right? So
Yeah.
they currently have three ships. Okay. So we have the Scarlet Lady, which we were on, the
Yep.
Valiant Lady, and the Resilient Lady.
Yep.
And their fourth ship is coming later this year in November of
Yeah.
2025
Which I will be
with the
on.
Brilliant Lady. Yes. And Amy is going to be on the Brilliant Lady.
Hmm.
And maybe there's a little chance that I might be convincing my spouse to head
Oh, I'm
out on
trying.
Brilliant Lady.
Yeah, I'm
So we had
trying
some good
so
conversations about
hard.
that. Um,
Yeah.
but it's so cool because for as new as what Virgin is, they are already winning big in terms of awards and accolades.
Oh, and I
Condé
can see
Nast
why.
Travelers. Yep,
I can see
number one
why.
large ship. Travel
Yeah.
and Leisure, number one mega ship. Cruise Critic, like best ocean cruise line in large ship category. And so like you hear large ship, mega ship when I'm saying these things. But here's what's interesting. I did a little bit of comparison,
Does
okay,
not.
about
Oh, I'm going to be curious to hear
what are
this.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
what are some of the stats regarding
Mm-hmm.
Virgin Voyages
Mm-hmm.
and some of our other cruise lines? And so we keep seeing like mega ship, large ship, big ship. But here's the deal. 2,700 sailors. That's the capacity for every single
Oh,
Virgin Voyages ship, which is
yeah.
on par with Disney Magic and Disney Wonder.
Which have
Um,
always been my favorite ships up
yeah, and
until
those
And
just,
are
those are
yeah.
the
a little smaller.
smaller Disney
That's what I
ships.
Correct.
liked. You
Yeah.
do
Correct.
feel like
That's
you are
interesting.
not in
Yeah.
Nadia, we will talk about this, but you do not feel like you have people on top of you every single place that you go.
No,
I can't wait to
not at
talk about
all.
like the way that you're waiting for dining, the way that you're waiting for show, like all of you don't
Yes.
feel like that at all.
No, no,
No.
no. And so
Mm-mm.
to give you a little bit more of a comparison in terms of some other things, the Disney Wish, the Disney Dream, the Disney Treasure. Now keep in mind, like I sailed the Disney Dream. It did not feel like I was on board with 4,000 guests, but that's the capacity for those ships. And then to compare it to something that I would definitely describe as a mega ship. Um, Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, that has a maximum of 7,600 passengers. So what Virgin Voyages has to offer, this is just a small fraction of that size. But, and Amy, I know we'll talk about this more in episode 2 as well, but it is something that I think is very clever and very interesting about Virgin Voyages ships in terms of their entertainment and how they do things. Their main event space is convertible. It becomes
Yes.
a dance
Mm.
hall. You can watch a show in stadium seating. We watched a show that had galley seating, where the
Yeah.
stage is long and narrow in the middle of two sides of audience members. And they're able to convert all of these spaces and to host all these
Yes.
different kind of
Yes.
events. I went to a show one day called Lights, Camera, Drag. And 2 days later, I went to a show in the same space. And silly me walked in and I was like, oh, I haven't been in here yet. Lies.
I
I
know.
just
Was
was
that
a
when we
days
went to the
ago.
duel? Was that
But
the duel show
nope,
that we
that was in
watched?
the red room. That was in the red
Okay.
room. But on the very last night, I went to a circus disco party, and I was like, "Oh, I
Oh,
haven't been
okay.
in here." And I was like, "Yes, I have. I was here 14 hours ago, like at another show."
It's
But
very
this was one of
versatile.
the
They were very
yes,
smart with the way that they did. Oh,
so
yeah, I agree.
smart. So smart.
Yeah.
So what we have not talked about is where we went. And before we get to that, like let's talk just a little bit about like where does Virgin Voyages sail? Because I think that the perception would be that like if this is a newer cruise line, the offerings must be limited. And that
Mm,
is not the
That's
not
case.
so
true.
Um,
inaccurate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine this, right? So, three ships going on four, the Caribbean from Miami and San Juan, Europe from multiple ports,
Mhm.
New England and Canada from Quebec and a bunch of other places in the Northeast, North America from New York and LA, Alaska from Seattle and Vancouver. And we also sail transatlantic from Miami to Barcelona, which is very cool. Let's note that I just said we as though I already work for Virgin Voyages or that the three of us are going on a transatlantic transatlantic
Well,
sailing
we
out of
just may. I mean, you never
yes,
know.
Why not? Why
first.
not? I
Maybe
mean, I
we
just
can
booked a
do
Yeah.
client on the
first.
Alaska Virgin Voyages
See,
cruise, right? Like,
that's
I mean,
yeah.
Perfect.
there's so many different
Perfect. That's
locations,
amazing.
so many
That's
places to
amazing.
visit.
So
Oh,
Amy and I did the Caribbean sailing from Miami. The sailing itself was called the Western Caribbean Charm. It was 6 nights. This is one of the things that I think showed me already, like the Virgin Voyages difference in terms of just how caring this cruise line is and what a priority it is that they
I would
provide
agree.
excellent service.
I know where you're
So our
going with this.
sailing, yeah. So our sailing was supposed to go to Costa Maya, Mexico,
Mhm.
Honduras, and the beach club at Bimini.
Mm.
However, we learned, now mind you, our
Like what?
sailing
Two
left on
days before?
Sunday.
Yeah.
Our sailing left on Sunday. On Thursday, everyone that was on our ship got an email stating that due to dock maintenance in Costa Maya, we wouldn't be stopping there. Now, most people, I would say a lot of cruise lines, like most people would assume, well, I guess we have another day at sea. Not the case. They
Mm-mm.
completely rerouted us so that we had another
Port day.
stop, another port day. And so we ended up in Belize City, Belize. And
Belize.
what was incredible
Yeah.
is within 24 hours, not only was anyone who had a Sure Thing excursion booked in
Refunded.
Costa Maya, they were all refunded. And we already had a list of brand new experiences that we could rebook.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's
cool.
amazing. That's
So
a
No,
cool.
fast
and
turnaround.
Service.
they had never been to Belize. I think that that should be no, like, so this was like a I mean,
Oh, wow.
people were working 24 hours to make
Yes.
this work.
Yes.
And there
It
were,
was
and
so
it wasn't like
impressive.
they just did, 4 or 5 like options. No, there were
Mm.
probably 12 options over. I mean, same
Yep.
amount that
Oh,
we had
wow.
for
Probably
Costa
at least a
Maya.
dozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really incredible. Really, really incredible experience. And Amy did get to do one of
I
those
did.
sure
I
things that we'll
did.
hear
I
all about in
did.
episode 2.
Yeah.
So proud of her. Speaking of stepping outside of your comfort
Yeah.
zone,
Let's
she
say,
did
yeah.
big time in order for
Yeah.
hers,
I
which is cool.
think 15
Um,
minutes before I was supposed to leave, I knocked on Nadia's door and I'm like,
yep, she did. She did. She was like, I don't know. She's
I
like, look at this
don't
video. I
think
don't
I
know that I
can
can do
do
it.
this.
I don't think
But
I can do it. And then I
when,
said, well,
I can
God
fully
love
picture
Nadia.
that
That's
conversation.
exactly. Oh no. And Nadia was really good because she was, and she's like, well, when she said this, well, okay, well,
Well,
you don't have to go, and I will support you with that,
yeah,
or I know you could do it, but and we'll talk all
yep,
about it.
yep,
But I did end up going,
indeed.
and I'm glad that I did because we met. My husband and I actually met. Two of the got to the gentlemen men that they were in our excursion with us, and I just really liked them, and we started talking with them. And then when Addie and I were having lunch, I think like the next day, I was telling her, "Oh, we met this really cool couple, and we were talking about it." And then they ended up sitting next to us for lunch, just out of the blue, and so struck up conversation. And then we met their friend. It was, oh, that's what I love about cruising. But it was
Yeah.
really cool. So we'll talk more about
Well,
that. But
and also cruising with 2,700 people, right? Because the fact of the matter is,
yes,
you're going to run into people again and again, right? Like it turned out that at one point, a guy that was on the same, like what, 3 or 4 person boat as Amy's husband Chuck
oh
for
my
another
gosh, yeah,
excursion. I was like, that's the
right
guy that
behind
was
us for
on
a
stage
show.
in my show.
Yes.
He was on stage in my show, and then he ended up like behind us like at 2 other shows, and it was like,
Yeah.
hey,
And he was Chuck's
Caleb.
like yeah, partnered up for his
Yeah,
excursion.
his
Yeah.
we'll call him his fishing buddy. Yeah.
Yes, it was his fishing buddy. Absolutely.
that's
It's
cute. Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
Yeah. So, the thing that I think is really cool about Virgin is I am very aware that when folks are either going to try a brand new cruise line or maybe just try a cruise for the first time ever, I know it might not be practical for people to be like, well, I've never been on a ship, so let's dive in for 6 or 8 days, where like that feels like a little bit of a risk if it's something that's brand new to you. So like you can do a transatlantic sailing that is somewhere between 12 and 16 days on Virgin, or they have something that is called the Fire and Sunset Soiree. It goes from Miami to Key West and then the beach club and Bimini. It's 4 nights and it
It's a good thing
goes
that I don't live in
over the
Miami,
weekend.
Nadia. I would
Oh,
want to be doing
oh,
that like at
All the
least,
time.
$100%.
yes, at least once a month. I'd want to go every
100%.
weekend. Mm-hmm.
I, truly, I can't get enough.
I
So
know.
we've kind of started to talk a little bit about like what makes Virgin Voyages unique. And so,
And I want to talk about talking about what makes them unique for a second here.
yeah,
Typically, one of the things that I love about Disney Cruise Line for me is when you get on board, and I love walking into like the big foyers, right? The big entryways, and just that for me is like a huge thing. And I'm like, oh, it feels like magic. Feel okay. I will be honest and say, Royal Caribbean for me is like it's too much. It's like it's very loud. It's very there's just so much happening. So I was a little apprehensive, and I've also done like the Carnival Vista years ago, and that same kind of thing. As I liked the sailing very much, but same kind of thing where when you get on and it's just everything's coming at you, and that's just too much for me. So I was a little bit nervous about going on Virgin. There was a lot of reasons that I was a little apprehensive. I mean, I think everyone knows that, like, even like my views and my, are very like liberal forward thing. So I wasn't worried about what my experience was going to be. I just didn't know what the experience was going to be. And if you know me, I'm an overthinker, which these two know me really well. And so I was just kind of like not knowing what to expect. And I know that we will also talk about, I'm sure that we will talk about, because see here, props to Noddea again. I'm like, okay, we did this sailing. So now you come up with what we're going to talk about on the podcast because I love you so much. So anyway, I mean, of course I said the things I'd like to talk about too, but let's give some props because if it wasn't for Amy and Noddea, we would be in trouble. Okay, very honest for here. I'm trying to be honest because I do want to talk about what I felt like was flawless from when we got there to getting up all of those things, which I think we will talk about. But I didn't know what to expect going on the ship initially. And I was just kind of not knowing what to expect. But, we went on, and I was trying to figure out for like the first several hours, kind of, okay, did this meet my expectation? Didn't it meet my expectation? Just kind of trying to walk around and get a feel for it. Now, my son, Charles, who has been on the podcast before, he's avid. He loves Virgin Voyages. He's not like experienced the product yet himself, but he knows so much about it. And he's like, Mom, you just have to let go of everything and every other cruise line that you've ever been on. And you need to think what they're trying to do is all luxury. It's luxury at sea. They don't want you to feel like you're in a ship on sea. They want you to feel pampered. They want you to feel comfortable. They want you to. So as I kind of changed my approach to like what I would typically know of getting on board, I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it. Like the feel from the time you literally step on that ship, they want you to be relaxed. They want you to be comfortable. There are so many spaces to sit and talk and just lounge, and they don't make you feel rushed. For me, I just wanted to really talk about that in the podcast, that just getting onto the ship is a big thing for me as a avid, sailor, if you will. And I loved the feel of it. And then once I understood the feel of it, and we really took our time walking around and just trying to find things and see where things were and looking at the spaces. And this is going to sound kind of weird maybe, but they have this space, but so many spaces that are smaller spaces, which make it feel very like inclusive. However, you don't feel claustrophobic to those spaces. I would say like restaurants like that where the lobby where you do first walk in, even like the shows, you don't feel like you're in this massive hall where you're watching these shows, or and there's something to be said for other cruise lines and how they do it, and that's what works for them. And I still love it, right? Like, am I still going to be sailing on Disney? Lord willing, 100%. Am I going to go back to Virgin and try to do a couple sailings with them a year? You better believe it. It's just a different feel without the kids. Just getting on board, it was just, you couldn't explain it, and you just felt it.
No, yes, yeah. And I would say that there was almost kind of a feel of ownership in a way, and
Yes.
intimacy, where it's like, welcome, like this is yours too. Like this is all for
Yes.
you. And
Yes.
because even just like walking onto the ship, Amy mentioned how it felt to walk into a Disney ship and how that just feels very grand. It feels like you're a part of the magic and a part of the fairy tale. Walking on to and I say this growing up a kid that lived to be at the mall and a teenager, well, please, probably until I was like 30, like lived to be at the mall, right? And Royal just felt like I was being dropped off in the middle of a mega mall, and it was just so overwhelming with so many
Great
things coming at you all
explanation.
at once.
That's the first time,
And
and Amy was with
yeah,
us. Like that is
Yeah.
yes,
exactly what it
Well,
yes,
was,
like
and I didn't think of
the
it that
royal
way.
is meant to feel like you're walking into the middle of a party. Like
And
most of
yes.
the
it
bigger ships
is,
for Royal
yeah, it
Caribbean,
was.
that's what they're attempting to achieve. And as long as you know that ahead of time.
Yeah, but great
But I
analogy. Never thought of it
but
like
I
that, Nadia. That's
but
what
I
it.
felt like Virgin Voyages, like we were walking onto the party that we were throwing, where it's like, yeah, this is for us. This
Okay.
is
Yes.
this is ours.
Yes.
And like we're just like walking through. And also, if these aren't just like the words of dreams when boarding a cruise, I don't know what is. But a Happenings cast member, which I cannot wait to talk about, a Happenings cast member says, "Welcome aboard the Scarlet Lady. Your rooms are ready." Oh, they,
What?
100%.
As you walk
yes,
on the
100%.
ship?
as
Our
we
rooms
walked
were
on
ready.
yes. So we
Rooms were
didn't even
ready.
have to
No.
go up and check and see if they were like, they just were. And what was incredible
And I
too is,
love our
That's
little
magic right there.
our
I
little
love
bands. I
I
actually
love
kept
that.
my
oh, yes,
so like these are
I
your
know.
bands, and it just makes me think you get and then you wear them like a bracelet. You don't even know that they're on, but that's how you
Yeah.
get into your room. Like as soon as we walked in, boom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
was
for anyone who is a Disney regular, it is the equivalent of the Virgin Voyages Magic Band Plus. Like it's like it
yeah,
holds your emergency contact information. It holds
credit card
like
information.
your credit card. It has everything, right? It knows
Yeah.
like how much is on your bar tab, like all of these things. And that's super cool. But yeah, and then on top of that, like our luggage showed up within 15 minutes of us like walking into our room as well.
Oh,
But
let's
it was
talk
just
about
so
that
Sold.
real
I'm
quick.
lovely.
sold. Like
Yeah.
Oh, and you want to
Yeah.
know something else? Because I kept saying to Nadia, you guys, and this is not I this is my ADD, which people know it's very genuine. I'm not making right. I think I said to her like 4 times, like, Nadia, are you sure that you didn't get tags for like luggage? Because like I know we didn't get tags. What are we supposed to do? Okay. Virgin doesn't do tags.
no,
You
they
get
don't.
No.
there and then they tag your bag for you right there. But that's something I'm glad I know now because it's one of those things I worry about because of luggage and where's your luggage going. But the fact that we checked it when we got there, I'm going to tell you that our process of getting through I mean, we were there at the port and on this ship. I mean, Nadia, tell me if I'm overdoing it. I think it was within a half hour.
I think it was within a half hour as well. And the other thing that's really impressive about that is we also showed up early, and that's kind of a
We
no-no,
did.
right? Like we're
Yeah,
not we're
we
not
did.
supposed to
And
do
it
that. You're
wasn't
not supposed
intentional,
to show
right?
up.
We thought it
It
was going
just
to take
it
a lot longer, right?
Yes, we thought all of our parts of the process were going to take so much
Oh my
longer. And so
goodness.
I honestly, like, we didn't verbalize this amongst each other, but I think we just kind of assumed, well, we're just going to kind of be here and just
Yep.
standing
We're
for
going to have
like
to
the
stand
next
and
hour and a
wait.
half.
Yep.
And we did not. It
And
was
they even put
extremely
us in line like
organized.
our actual line for the time.
Yeah.
So from the time that we
Yep.
got dropped off by the Uber, and we actually took the bright line from Orlando, which we'll, talk about it at some point in time also, because I would do that again. I don't know about you, Nadia, but that was amazingly quick. It was, yeah, super efficient, clean, all of the things. Nadia and I could still work, plug in our computers. It was great. But from the time that we got the Uber to the port, and then got in our room with our luggage was no more than 40 minutes.
No way. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It was just truly so efficient, and I think that has a lot to do with the luxury aspect of what Virgin provides. And here's the thing that I love so much about this level of luxury service that they provide. They do it without formality, if that makes sense. The people feel like your neighbors. Everyone is just like so cool and chill and casual, and like there is no like high level like hoity-toity like aloofness that's happening with the
What
staff.
was
Like
one of
they're
the
all
things
just so
that
kind.
Chuck said to you? Actually, you two were having a conversation about their staff. They're not cast members. But just how the service is top notch, but so genuine. Like
Yeah,
it's
just
not
really
fake.
natural,
It's
super
those
natural.
they wanted to know if we genuinely were having a good time. They wanted to know genuinely,
Yes.
did you do an excursion today? What did you do?
Yeah,
They kept asking us, and it wasn't, you could just tell that sometimes people will ask you things because that's what they're supposed to do. It was not like that. It was like they
no, it
genuinely
wasn't.
cared about what our experience was.
100%,
It was
100%.
different than, yeah.
And we even had like one situation like where like we'll talk about this in episode 2, but like Chuck went on an excursion and it's not that it was a bad experience. It just didn't meet the expectations. And we even like mentioned that to a cast member and they were like, well, I hope that you go talk to um Sailor Services and just let them know, just give them your feedback. And like there wasn't an excuse as to why. There wasn't a like, oh, well, that never happens. Like it was just like, oh, like please make sure that you tell us about that. Like that's important for people to
And
know.
escalated
But
up, like
yes,
genuinely, and not it. I don't, it was hard to explain. I mean, that they apologized, that, yeah, and we can talk about what that was and what happened, but I want
yeah,
to definitely talk about how Virgin handled it, because it made him feel like they listened to what he said. And if you know
yeah,
my husband, he probably wasn't really going to say much. And I'm like, no, you paid a lot of money to do that. So I'm not saying we're going to get our money back, but they need to know for future sailings. Like if they're using
absolutely.
this, they need to know. So,
Yep.
but good. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about like some of the luxury feel that we got. And so
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the actual luxury experiences or aspects that are included. So every single Virgin
Everything.
Voyages sailing, yeah, everything, includes over $1,000 in free and included value. And so that includes all dining on the ship, 20 plus eateries, most of them with Michelin star chef curated menus, which is incredible. Basic Wi-Fi. I worked a lot from the ship. In fact, I logged in over 30 hours on the ship, and I was able to use basic Wi-Fi that I did not have to pay for. Um,
Ooh, that's amazing.
Yes. And
yes,
I
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah. No.
paid for it thinking I was gonna like be, and I did definitely do some work, but learned from Nadia, like next time I sail, because of the type of work I was doing, I could have used the basic Wi-Fi.
They definitely have packages like for higher speed,
Yeah.
or if you like, for example, like there's a package that they recommend if you are going to be doing video conferencing, like if we're doing
Mm.
Zoom meetings and things like that, you want to pay for that. But most of the things that I was able to do,
Well,
it
and you
wasn't
should note that
super
Nadia took
speedy.
over like our socials for the
Yeah,
entire
Nadia
time,
was
and
rocking
that
our
was
social
on the free,
media.
and that was all on that regular Wi-Fi.
No need to purchase a soda package because
No,
soda and water, non-pressed juices,
regular
teas, and drip
coffee.
coffee, all included. Um, Fitness classes. Amy Fisher, this was one of the things where I was like, I couldn't imagine a person who would love this cruise line as much as
Yes.
what I do,
Oh
but
yeah.
for very different reasons. Fitness classes, yoga, meditation classes, cycling, hit classes, all kinds of dance classes, which were super
Yeah.
cool. But what's incredible, like for those of you who are new to either the podcast or new to my friendship with Amy Fisher, Amy Fisher and I have so many similarities, but at the same time, we are as different as night and day. Um, at some point, we should probably do a like little crossover check to be like, what
Yes.
mutual hours are we awake during the day? Because Amy is an early riser and I am a night
12
owl.
to 4 p.m.
Yep.
Probably.
Probably, probably. That's our sweet spot. But there are so many really great not just morning fitness classes, but
No,
going
all,
all the way
yeah.
through
And
like
the
7 p.m.
offerings,
at
and like
night.
not some just, I mean, like
So
really good, like, I don't use the word thorough, but like real workout stuff that you could do. I
oh
mean,
yeah, yeah. And to the point where some of the guys that we met that we became friends with, they were like, well, here's the deal. Like we went to some of those classes and the people tapered off throughout the week because that's how hard
oh no,
they
they were
were. Like that's
real.
how like they were like the
Yeah.
real deal.
Like my
Um,
workout class that I did, where I went and did like my 80s workout, like that. And it was so much fun. I told Nadia, I said, I need to find an 80s workout class like at home because I need
at
to
home.
do this. And
It's
Amy's like,
called
no, you
it's
just
called
need a personal
jazzercise.
fit.
Well, and you need
But
to wear that outfit again,
and
let's
it
be
was,
real.
oh my God, I can't. I just can't. It was so
That
much fun.
outfit was 10 out of 10. So mad props to your
100%.
stylist on board the ship
Oh,
No,
too.
yeah.
she did that by
I
herself,
did that by
Amy.
myself. Uh-huh.
She did that by
Nuh-uh.
herself. I
No,
know.
my favorite
I
I'm
part
even
was,
more proud of you now.
thank
What?
you. My favorite
I
part
know.
was not, I kept telling Nadia I was going to do this and like, I'm going to do my workout. And I'm going to be honest and tell you, I didn't think it was a real workout at the time. Like when I'm like, this is so cool. Like we're going to get dressed up and we're going to just walk in and have this. Okay. First of all, it is a real workout. And it wasn't like it was hard to do, but no, I mean, you got to work out. I felt it the next day. I felt it like it was an awesome workout. I loved it. It was fun. They made it fun. But yeah, in my cool little outfit, my favorite part, because I'd been telling Nadia I was going to do this, but she didn't really have any idea. And I said, no, I think I'm going to get a leotard. And I said, she had no idea. So, of course, I knock on her door that morning because she wasn't going to go with me. She was like, you knock on the door and let me know so I can at least, see you and get a picture or whatever. So I knock on the door and as soon as she opens it, I got on my little outfit and I'm like, let's get physical, physical. But the best part was that my Nadia girl, was speechless. She could hardly take the picture because she's like, this is fantastic. This is
The
great.
text message she
I
sent
can't
me
even
makes
think.
way more sense now because she was like, you won't believe this, and then sent me the photo.
She
It's
was
true.
just like, she's like, she couldn't. We went out like to get a couple pictures and she's like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't do that. It was
Like
so much fun.
the majority of I took like a dozen photos of Amy in her outfit, and half of them are blurry because I was still shaking because I was like laughing with like such joy and like disbelief all at the same time. It
It
was
was
amazing.
so much fun.
Um, Okay, so speaking of wellness, this is like just the tiniest little bit of oh yeah, that's why this is really good that this is a thing. So Amy and I went on a tour of the spa on the very first night,
We
and I kind
did.
of had it in my mind that like I didn't need to do the thermal spa. I wasn't going to do the thermal spa.
There's never
And I
a
had just
need to not
had,
do the thermal spa, just saying.
right?
But
I gotta build it into
you
like
did
my
good.
like
You did
mental
good.
set of like
Yeah. No,
preparation.
no, no, you did good.
So
But then I was with you, and
so
that's usually bad. So I'm really sorry, Caitlin. But
it's okay. That's okay. And so I after the tour, I texted my husband and I said, "Hey, here's the deal. I think that I would really like to do the thermal spa. Here's why. Here's what it costs. Are you okay if I do this?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, babe, you should do that. That would be good for you. You should do that." And then afterwards, I had this little moment of feeling both guilty and panicked that maybe I didn't really give a full picture on what the cost was because what do we always forget about when we travel? Tips and gratuity.
gratuities
And tips and gratuities, everything is included in Virgin. So
included. No
when they
tips or
say,
gratuities.
yes, when they say this is what the
Yeah.
cost is for your spa, that included
My
that
hair. I got
gratuity
my
for
hair
that
done when I
staff.
was there, and I thought for
Yes,
sure I was going to have to tip. Bartenders, drink. It's all
So,
everything. It's
included.
all
so you're saying
included.
like zero
Zero.
extra tipping at all happens
Yes.
on. That's
Zero.
None.
amazing. Okay, I
It
knew
is.
gratuities were included, but that's like they don't even
Oh
accept
no.
tips, basically.
No,
No.
no, to the
No.
point where at one point I watched a during a live show that I was at with a live band, I watched someone attempt from like the floor, like I watched someone attempt to hand someone a $50 bill. Like that's how up close I was. I could actually see like not just a tip, like it's a big one. And they smiled and they were like, thank you, and handed it right back to them. Like they weren't even accepting. tips. I was just like, wow, this is unreal.
I
But yeah,
think
so
that
like
we
all of
should
those,
touch like 1 second about that. I don't know because I do not work for Virgin Voyage. All that I can tell you, or Virgin and then the Voyages, obviously, the staff that we encountered wanted to be there. They
yes.
wanted to be there.
Oh my
They
gosh.
wanted to work. They wanted to um, have conversations with people. Like the work environment obviously is reflected in how well they, I don't even know how to say it, tried to relate to they just wanted to be there.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. And like not only did they want to be there for us, you could see them showing up for each other. So,
Yes.
one of the
Yes.
shows that I went to two different versions of it. It's called It's a Rock Show Key. It's like a karaoke show that's also a rock show. There's a 90s version and there's a classic rock version. And the whole 90s band showed up to watch the classic rock show. But like as members of the audience, like they danced and sang along with us, right? Like it was so cool. And all throughout our time on the ship, like I would see people and I'd be like, I think maybe I sat next to them at breakfast because they're like really familiar. And I'm like, no, like they're this performer from this show, but they're just showing up and watching other shows and cheering on other members of their cast. And they do call some of the crew members cast as well. And speaking of cast members, the entertainment, whoa, here's the thing. I remember, for those of you who do not know me, I am a diehard theater girly. Like my heart beats for Broadway theater, something fierce. And I read in some early like training materials for Virgin Voyages where they were like, we don't do the Broadway thing. And I was like, excuse me?
Wait.
Like, what is wrong? What is wrong with the Broadway thing? And why do we not do that, Virgin Voyages? So I was like a little sassy about it, where it's like, do you think you're above this? Like, what's happening? But it turns out that like their entertainment is so interesting, so unique, and so cutting edge. And just really, really well done. And to be honest, I wasn't sure that I was going to like it. And that's why I went to a show the very first night because I thought, I just want to go and say that I went. And then I can be like, okay, I've experienced the entertainment. Thank you so much. And I was smitten. Like they're great shows. They're emotional. They're very human. Just really incredible. And all of the entertainment is included. There is one dinner theater experience that you can do that is not included, but all of their entertainment's included. And it's originally curated and produced specifically for Virgin Voyages. It's so cool. And then, of course, one of my favorite things that we did was the beach club at Bimini. Virgin Voyages Beach Club is just, it's so great. And I
I
don't
loved it.
know
I loved
about
it.
the two of you, but I have felt before when I've gone to either a cruise line's like exclusive island or club, it almost kind of feels like that should be your relaxation day, but you feel pressured to experience as much of it as possible. And because they feel big, right? Like where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, but like
Disney for
here's this
sure. Hmm.
trail. Yeah, yeah. And I even felt like Amy Fisher when you and I were at um Coco Cay for
Oh, there's so many. Yeah.
Royal. I just felt like
Yeah.
there was so much to do and that like I missed it. Like at one point I was like, what do you mean there's not a pool over there? I didn't know there was not a pool over there. Like that kind of a situation. And I
Hmm.
felt like this was just the right size that
Mm.
I could always tell what was going on in other places, and if I wanted to go check that out, I could.
Yeah. I'm
But
excited to talk
wow,
about the island
the
for
way that
sure.
that was just such a great experience. And then another thing that I think is really important for people to know about Virgin is, we've talked about luxury, but it is also um, an incredible value for what you get, especially when you take into consideration the onboard and even off the ship sustainability of Virgin Voyages and their commitment to ethical business practices when it comes to excursions. Sustainability is key, and it's everything from like your band that is worn by all the sailors that Amy showed you. It's made of recycled materials. All of the hammocks in our staterooms, like those are made of sustainable materials and are
We
every
haven't
single
even
one of
talked about
them.
the hammocks
We
yet.
haven't even, they're
Mm,
gorgeous.
mm,
And those are all
mm.
hand woven. And then they're committed to sustainability and zero waste. So they've banned all single-use plastics on board. There are no food buffets. All food is made to order. And then they've implemented like this really good comprehensive recycling program on board that you can see and that you'd notice. So it's truly incredible. It's truly, truly incredible. And I'm realizing now it's like we have so much yet to cover before we even get to like the heart part of the sailings. But here are just a couple more like bullet points. Um, Theme events. Amy Blades, what kind of theme events are there on board?
You guys, this theming is why I want to go back on. No, there's more than that. But okay, there is something to be said about, so they have pajama night, right? Well, these girls, because they travel with me, they know that I do love pajamas. Like I have pajamas that, because I have a problem. So I was trying to figure out which pajamas I was going to take. And so I'm thinking, man, all of these couples that are on this, I'm like, people aren't really going to dress up for this pajama thing. But okay, so I got Chuck a pair of pajamas too. And I will say, he was so good about the entire experience. He's pretty quiet, but if you don't know him, but I mean, didn't he, Nadia? All of it. He did all of it.
Chuck was all
He
in.
was all in on the whole thing. So
Chuck's a good
they
sport. We
had
love Chuck.
he is a good sport. You're right, Amy. He is. So we did pajama night. So that was the first night. That was our theming. Pajamas were the theme, right? And so we go to the pajama thing and we are exhausted. Like, we're tired. We've been traveling a ton. I'm thinking, oh, there'd probably be like maybe 50 people in their pajamas. The entire ship was in pajamas. And you could just see a lot of them like were the matching, couples were matching. And it was just, I'm like, where else are you in the middle of the ocean with pajamas, like looking at the stars? I was hooked. So I was hooked from that
Yeah.
moment. So we did pajamas. Now I will say we were there on St. Patrick's Day, which was cool. So we did kind of plan together. Let's do something cool. I mean, you don't have to tell either of us to do something sparkly because we both love to be in
We
sparkles.
will.
But the day that we were doing our bingo with a diva was St. Patrick's Day. So we did get dressed up in our St. Patrick's Day stuff, and a lot of people commented on because we were just so adorable. We really were
And
kind
then,
of cute.
and then
And
across all of the Virgin Voyages ships
you
is
have to talk
Scarlet
about this.
Night, which
Okay.
is their red party.
Yes.
And so you are going to hear all of the good stuff in
Yeah.
our next
I'm trying to
episode
think, was
about
that the
Scarlet
other
Night.
theme? Those were the three
That's
right? For the
yes, that's
most part.
the Scarlet Night and PJ Party are like the two big ones, but then there's all these really great additional parties and events that you can go to. So
But I
there's
feel
like
like
a
you can
club.
dress up. Like if you want to
Oh
wear
yeah,
sparkles
for
the whole
sure.
time, you can dress. Yeah,
For
for
sure. Yeah, it's
sure.
it's very come as you are, but like there's a 1980s club Rubik's night. There's a disco night. There's also if I have a regret of something that I missed that I'm so devastated that I missed, there was a Y2K New Year's Eve party. So it's New Year's Eve
So
1999 for the
how
whole
did I miss
party. It's
that?
showing like New Year's Eve parties from 1999 on like the big video screens around the room.
What?
If
That's
there's a
amazing.
thing that I'm sad I missed, it's that one. But they're so cool. And so here is one of the things that makes all of this so special. There's something that's called the Happenings cast, and I
Yeah.
am obsessed with the Happenings cast. So you know
So
how
you
when you
typically
go
have a
to
cruise
most,
director.
usually have a cruise director,
That's
not
not
on
what I get.
Virgin. Virgin,
No.
you have a cast of 12 humans that bring the flair, the bounce, the balance, the spark, the glow, and more, along with a foodie, an
Hmm.
artist, a hostess, and a diva. And so they're the folks that connect all the passions and
Yes,
all the
all of it.
aspects of the sailing with the ship's sailors. I lost track of how many times I was like, I feel like I am in um I feel like I am in the mountains and that I am in the Dirty Dancing movie and I know the cast
Yes.
of Kellermans. That's
Yes.
how it
You
felt.
did
I
keep,
felt
she
like I
did
knew
say
the
that.
cast of Kellerman's. It's like I'll
Yes,
carry a
she
watermelon.
did say that.
Like, yeah, like let me into your party. But it was just incredible, like so incredible. And they are present and a part of that, a part of your voyage from the time that you get on the sailing time that you get on board because that was a happenings cast member that was like welcome aboard Scarlet Lady, your rooms are ready, and the very first ahoy sailors that you hear in like a public setting with everyone around is the hostess. It's just so cool, and you can tell these people, they love each other so much, they love Virgin so much, and they are there to make sure you have an authentically good time that feels right for you. It's just incredibly cool. We need to touch on the food and the fact that on Virgin Voyages, there is no rotational dining. There's no formal dining room, no buffets. Everything is made to
No
order.
No
buffets.
buffets.
No
And
buffets. Yeah, I
and
hate
the
buffets.
area, like the area that they use is called
The
the
galley.
galley. Thank you. My mind went completely blank. The galley in itself. Okay, we're going to talk about the restaurants. The galley in itself needs to have a conversation and a shout out because I've never experienced food like that, even at hotels before or other cruise lines.
To give you a visual, the valley, nope, the galley feels like a swankified food court where you can walk up to a
Yes.
counter and you can
Yes.
order what you want. Or if you just want to sit, you can scan the QR code and you can flip this little sign at your table, and someone will come take your order and get you whatever you want. And I'll say, like Chuck and I talked about this pretty in depth that the food is delicious, but the portions are small. And I actually think that that's really smart because it allows you to
Yeah.
try a variety of things, and it
Yes.
also helps eliminate food waste.
I liked it very
Um,
much. And they never, if you wanted to get more of something, you absolutely
oh
could. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah. Like just
was
keep going. Yeah.
nice.
It was
Yeah.
just incredible. Like all of the food was wow. But for those folks who are our Disney clients who are used to, well, and this is what day your dining opens, and you can book online, really similar experience. You book your dining in advance through the app. And it's also, I'll say this, Amy, I felt like it was very fair. So you could book in advance each restaurant for the kind
One
of
time.
meal it offers. So, for example,
Mhm.
there's a restaurant called The Wait, and it's the steakhouse. They do dinner and they do brunch. So they allow you to book once for dinner, once for brunch. The like the Gangbei like Korean barbecue place, you can book it once. Now you can show up once you're on board and see if you can get a walk-in spot or if they've opened up more. But it's so fair because it allows for people to experience the various like dining areas. Um, this is something that I loved that might be for me one of the most special things about Virgin that goes hand in hand with the food, and it's drinks. And the fact that two things. One, there's something that's called bar tab, where you can purchase in advance. You can purchase it as late as when you are standing in line to board the ship. They've got QR codes, like it's not too late to purchase. You can even
And I
purchase once you're on
love the
board.
concept. I love the
Yes,
concept.
yes. And
Yes.
so,
It's like,
a
and
lot
so
of
why
times,
it's
like,
called a bar tab
yes,
is
yeah,
because it's
and
intended
like
to use, right?
throughout, and like if you
And
want to
for
order drinks for
others.
your friends, great.
Yes.
If you want
They
to buy the
encourage
whole
it.
darn restaurant around, go for it. If you have
Yeah.
bar tab left at the end of your sailing and you're like, what are we gonna do? Like there's someone walking around with like a really impressive collections of wine, and they're gonna help you choose a bottle of wine that you can leave the ship with. Like just incredible,
Or
incredible
three.
experiences. Yes, or three. Or three. But this is one of the things that I talked to some new friends on board the ship about that I was so impressed with. I had this assumption that Virgin was going to be a big party ship.
Mm-hmm.
And while there are plenty of people that were living their best lives,
Mm-hmm.
especially on St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah.
I was so impressed and I was actually very touched with by the number of zero proof alcohol free cocktails, beers, and wine on this ship, like it just felt like what a safe, nurturing, and welcoming environment for sober sailors. And or just for folks like myself, where it's like it's a rarity that I actually want a drink once in a while. But for the most part, like I like to be a part of things
Yeah.
without having to
And
full
that's
on be a
same
part of
as,
things.
my husband. Chuck's not
Yeah,
a big drinker at all. And so,
yeah. And
yeah,
that was
and we'll talk about that
so
when we talk
cool.
about food because I did like and then the way that we did it a couple times too, we'll talk about. But I
Yeah,
just love that,
absolutely.
yeah, you're not frowned on for like when you when you put money on for your bar tab, it's to use for you and whoever else that you may want to use it for. Like they encourage that. So I liked that. Yeah.
Yep. But overall, like the ship, it's sleek and modern. I thought
Oh
it was
yeah.
really
Modern
like
is a
visually
great,
interesting
the
and easy to
rooms, the
navigate.
lighting, like all the lighting, like you can do different
The
moods for the
rooms.
rooms. Yeah.
So like it just felt very zen
Yes.
while also being very technology driven. So every single
Yes.
room has a little tablet. Now, do I wish that
Hmm.
the tablets were hooked up right next to our beds? Yes, because
Yes.
you had to get up to the other side of the room to use them. I just
And
ended
they
up
literally, I mean,
leaving mine
just to know,
overnight.
not
Yeah.
like she's being lazy, like they literally are for everything. Like you can't do anything in the room without the iPad. So
So
Yeah.
you have to
So
like turn the light off on the tablet and then make your way to the
everything,
bed.
everything is
Well,
on.
the tablet actually, like, it is wireless. It just charges far away. So, like, you can
Yeah.
bring it over, like, wherever you want. But it
Okay.
does everything from, like, changing light modes in your
Hmm.
room. Um,
If you want your
as you
room
know,
service done,
if you room service, yep. If you want
towels,
your, yes, it does everything,
everything.
and including your TV. And one of my favorite things, and I made use of this a lot, they had specially curated music playlists for your room. So it was like, oh, do you
They
want beach
did.
vibes? Oh, do you want this groove? Do you want DJ
Uh-huh. Do you want
party?
some
Like, what do you
sexy
want?
music? Like whatever
Yeah, do
you
you want
want.
some sexy music?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had
I think
options
that's what
that
they
may
called
or
it. Like, right? I
they
mean, like,
they
what's
may or
really
may not have called it Get It
I'm
On.
sure
Yeah.
that's what you
Oh,
and
there
Chuck
you
used,
go.
Amy.
Get
It's
it on.
fine.
I mean, most of the time, let's be honest.
But
I
it was
mean, come
just it was
on.
so great. And it felt like for me, now keep in mind, I was a solo sailor like in my our sea terrace rooms. However, I pack enough for like 5 people. So was I really all that alone? I don't know. But so I had so much stuff. But I never felt like the room wasn't big enough. And one
No,
of the
I would
things that
agree.
I think is just magical about this ship and specifically about um, Virgin Voyages rooms is there's a special little button that you can hit, or you can just talk to your room attendant. They will convert your bed into a sectional couch during the day and gives you all this additional room and space in your room, and it just kind of gives you like a different way to lounge. And I really love that. But speaking of the
But
best
we
way to
should
lounge,
talk about, like, can we talk real quick when you said that, though, about our room steward? You talk
yes,
about ninja,
Cindy.
ninja. I don't think we ever saw her. I mean, enough to say good morning or, but I'm telling you right now, the minute we left, you come back, that room was clean. It was
Yep.
ready to go. You leave, you come back, it was ready for bed. Garbage was taken. Like she was the sweetest, friendliest,
Yep.
hardest working person and just so joyful, so joyful. And just, I hope that you're asking us every day. Our rooms were right next to each other. So we had the same room steward. And it was just, I mean, just props to the staff. I mean, their crew is incredible. But wouldn't you agree, Nadia? Like Chuck kept saying,
Oh,
man, like we asked for something and we don't even see her do it. Like she's in and out and we
no.
don't even know she was
Well,
there.
and this for me was the thing where I was like, oh, I see you because you absolutely see me. I had knee surgery in the fall. I still
Yes.
deal with like a lot of knee pain and discomfort. And so I would order ice. Like there are different like aspects of your like service to your room that you could request. And so ice is one of them. And I would often ask for ice. And I travel with like big old like double gallon like Ziploc bags that I can put my ice in. And so at one point, and I don't even know what the hint was or how, she figured out that that's why I was requesting ice was to ice my knee. And I started coming back from the spa or the pool or whatever in the late morning or early afternoon. And on the first day this happened, I was floored. I opened the fridge, and in the fridge, she had filled up my 2 gallon bag full of
Of
ice for
ice.
me.
And
Not
every
just
day.
like in the
And
ice
every
bucket,
day.
but like she knew, like, well, this is something that
Every
this
day.
person's needs. She never asked if I wanted it. She never asked if it
Mhm.
was, something that I needed to keep doing. She just did it. And it was incredible. And it was just so incredibly nice. But these rooms are
Let's
just
talk about
so
this is something
beautiful.
that sounds silly, but it's not because they don't do this on any other cruise line unless I'm missing it. But fresh water, they give you fresh water. You can either have still water or
Yes.
sparkling water, but it's in
Or both.
for yeah, and they give you your cups and they give you your my mind is completely blank. Your or like a craft for
Yeah.
water, and they refresh every day. You have fresh water whenever you want it, just in the room.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Now,
it
do they
sounds
do
silly, but
service twice a day then? So do
if
they
you want,
do,
they still
or
do
They
turn
do it
down if you want.
so
whenever
you,
you want it.
okay,
Yes.
right? Because we've talked about, so like Disney Cruise Line, one of the things that we love is that they clean the room in the morning, then they do turn down service at night. Not every cruise line does that, but it sounds like Virgin also will do that and potentially more if that's,
Yes.
what your room
Yes.
needs. That's amazing. I love
Yes.
that.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are definitely coming up on the part now where we need to wrap up and get us ready for part two
Yes. Yes. Hopefully we
of
gave you enough of
this
like an
episode.
overview of what the ship is and what the crew like we and that Nadia, I think that was her idea is just really letting everybody know like what it really is and then talking about what our experiences were. So hopefully that was helpful to everybody because I think it was important just to know a lot of those details going in. Yeah.
But I think it's important that you know the number of times that throughout this experience that, if you are a familiar listener to the Goofy Getaways podcast, you know about Amy's All In. And it's where at the end of an episode they talk about what they're all in on. And what was so great is that during the sailing on Virgin Voyages, Amy Blades, I lost count of how many times you just said, I'm all in. I'm all in.
I
Like,
think I
not
just
about
said
one
yeah.
specific thing, but about the entire experience because we just tried so many new things and stepped outside of our comfort zone because we felt inspired to do so, whether it was by our fellow sailors, by the happenings cast, by our servers and our bartenders and each other even, right? It's like I think we encouraged each other to try new things. But my personal experience is that Virgin delivered on all of the promises of quality and experience. Um, I had to think long and hard about like, okay, if there was something that I genuinely did not like or I would have changed, what would it be? And you guys are going to laugh when you hear about what it is because it is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. I didn't like how loud the carts were when the people that took our luggage from the vehicle to the ship. I didn't like how loud those
That
carts were.
it was
The end. The end. That is what I didn't like about Virgin Voyages. I wasn't even on a ship yet, and that was
uh-uh.
the only no
And out of
thank you
your like
very
week long sailing, it was less than 40 minutes because y'all said it took
yes.
you like
It
less
was
than 40 minutes
less.
to
I
get
mean,
from
because
ship.
I did,
Like,
and I kept
Yes.
saying to Nadia, I'm like, when we do the podcast, like we're gonna have to have an all in, and I said to her, like, we're not going to talk about what they are because that, with being here, we want it when we're actually on the podcast, so we don't know what each other are saying, blah 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 blah. And she's right though. I couldn't stop saying all in on absolutely everything. I really couldn't. But it's funny that now that you say that, and that was really loud. You're right. For that to be the thing that kept going over
Yeah.
it, there you
I
can't
I
pick something
have
that's not.
I
I
have a
can.
lot of sound issues. Like I don't want to ride in a car with windows down. Like that turns me into a not joyful human. I don't like to be around like big, loud noises in terms of like music, entertainment, whatever. To the point where like I travel with earplugs everywhere. I put them in my ears when we were waiting for like to jump in and to get on the ship. That's it. for about 20 minutes, and that was it. But overall, like just easy and swift arrival and departure, and just an
And I want
undeniable
to, oh, and I
value
just want to
for
say
what you get.
too, getting when you're at the port and getting in line and getting through, they were so efficient. I mean, so friendly, so efficient. I mean, I just can't explain it to you from I don't even know how to explain it to you. The lady that we had was so friendly. She's given us our I mean, it was like boop 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 and you're in. Like you didn't have to show anything else. You didn't have to do you just it was so efficient.
It was amazing.
And they
Absolutely
want to get you on
amazing.
board. Like they wanted to get you on board. They wanted you to get ready
Yes.
to have this experience. And hands down, I mean, we're going to really get into like the guts of it coming up,
Yeah.
but hands down, I mean, I'm sold and we haven't even told you really, truly, we haven't even told you like our
We haven't hit
highlights.
Yeah, we haven't even hit on the why, right? Like so far, like we're
No.
just we've got the what and the who, but
Yeah.
up
So
next
let's
is the
talk about
why.
it. Yeah. Let's talk about the logistics. Let's on this podcast was logistics. I'm all in on ease. I'm all in on getting my luggage and tagging it and getting it to my room within 40 minutes of me arriving at the port. I'm all in on the entire process of what we talked about today. I can't narrow it down. I can't. I am all in on all of it. Amy, are you ready to go on a Virgin cruise with us yet? If not,
Yeah,
just wait.
I was ready to go with y'all. It just timing wise didn't work for me to go this time around. But
I know. I know. All right.
It was
Well,
incredible.
hey, stick around because there is going to be a part two, a part B, A, B, whatever we want to call it. There's another episode
Right.
coming to you. And this one is going to be the nuts and bolts, the guts, all of it. The excitement of the overall experience and what we walked away with. So, of course, remember, you can always find out information about our amazing Noddea, who, of course, is our director of marketing, but is also a travel consultant. And if you choose that maybe Noddea is not your cup of tea, we've got lots of other people that might be. So we remember that we obviously book Disney. We're passionate about Disney. We love Disney. But I'm going to tell you what, Noddea and I here for sure are all in on Virgin Voyages and are very excited to talk more about it with our team because I think that this is an incredible product that I know that I am standing behind. So you can go to goofygetaways.com or you can go to our social media, obviously, because Noddea did an incredible job of really kind of tracking our time, like the entire time. And so you just can go check it out. But the best thing for you to do is to reach out to us to book you on a sailing so you can experience it for yourself. You know how to reach us, so do it. Okay. With
You're
that,
right.
unless there's anything that I'm missing,
You know what? I have one
um,
other thing,
you
Amy.
do, then
You said,
please.
you said we're so passionate about Disney. We are an agency that specializes in Disney destinations. But spoiler alert, people. Guess what the Blades family and I did the day before we left for our Virgin sailing? We went to Disney. So I'm gonna go with a little hashtag, why not both? Because we can
Okay.
also book you a back-to-back Disney
That's
and
really
Virgin
smart.
Voyages sailing. And you
That's smart.
will not be
Mm-mm.
sorry.
Mm-mm. You won't.
or
And
if
I
you
love
Don't
it.
really
be
See?
want you
sorry.
all, mom and dad go on the Virgin Voyages cruise, grandma and grandpa take the kids on Disney.
Oh,
I'm
then meet
just
them
Also
there
want to throw
there.
all of
after.
these
That is
different thoughts and
awesome.
ideas out there
We
See,
for
have
you.
we've
options.
got it. I mean,
We've got choices.
we do have
Whatever
choices
you
and we
need.
are going to get you there for sure. Okay, but until you come back for this next episode, as of right this minute, we will see ya.
Real soon.
If you liked today's episode of the Goofy Getaways podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember to follow Goofy Getaways on social media so we can lead you to the magic.